everybody. Grace and peace be unto you from God who loves us as a mother and a father, and Jesus Christ who always and alone is our resurrected, our risen, our reigning and our returning Redeemer. I'm Pastor Wesley, and I want to thank you for checking in to another episode of Meet the Street. Alpha Street Baptist Church is a phenomenal place filled with some exciting and vibrant people who are doing amazing things in the world. In Meet the Street, we seek to just introduce you to some of those faces you may see in the church, but never know what they're doing Monday through Saturday that is absolutely awesome and phenomenal. And I am grateful to introduce you to one today, Holli Drains. Holli, welcome.
Thank you, Pastor.
Glad to have you on board. Listen, anybody who comes to Alpha Street probably sees you in one capacity.
I know.
You are the security lady that no one wants to mess with. You got that
true.
stern look. You serve and protect the service ministries, and I'm grateful because you help the church and me. We're going to talk a little bit about that because that's just the tip of the iceberg.
Okay.
From a police officer to Secret Service to now owning a business that manages risk and protection like that. We got to figure out who Holli is and how you got there. Where are you from? Let's start at the beginning.
Okay, let's start where I'm from. Hartford, Connecticut, if you can believe it. Yes.
Born and raised up there.
Born and raised. That is what made me born. Yes, absolutely.
And educationally, where'd you go? How's that resume look for us?
So a resume looks a little varied. Mom had a plan, and she wanted a lot of different educational experiences, and she wanted a lot of different educational locations. So my younger years, I would say elementary school, I went to a private Christian school. Okay. She did what she had to do. Rob, what did I say? Rob, Peter, pay Paul. Yeah. She took out some loans, and I went to a private Christian school. And then she pulled me out of that just when I was certain that was where I just needed to live my life. And she said, that's exactly why. It's now you need to come out. And so then I went to public school. I went to public magnet school for 7th and 8th grade, and then rounded out in Catholic high school.
Wow, you're all over the place.
Like I said, she had a plan. She had a plan. And then when I was done with high school, I went to Christian Brothers School in Philadelphia. So still in Philly, but not so deep in Philly that she felt like I wasn't going to get my work done. So LaSalle University finished me off. All
right. So how long between college and you becoming a police officer in Hartford?
Wow. So I finished college in 98, 97. 97, I graduated. And it was actually during my internship. That was back when internships, they give you a little stipend, they put a little change in your pocket. And so I got a chance to pick an agency in the city because I had to work. I couldn't just go away and, and so I picked the police department in Hartford.
Okay, now here's where we got to stop.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's talk about it.
Black women as police officers. I got to ask, what drew you to law enforcement? That's typically not at the top of what we see black women wanting to do.
It wasn't even at my top. Believe it or not, people know me now as security, but back then I was sure I was going to be an attorney.
Okay.
That was my plan. I was going to be an attorney. And when I spent I think it was my junior summer at the police department as a college intern, I left there going into my senior year completely changed. Like I said, this is what I'm doing. My mom was not happy. Let's be clear. Like,
I can assume not. It's a dangerous calling.
Yeah, she wasn't happy. Like she was happy. I had law. I had pre-law in the mind. I that's what I knew because that was a respectful career. And I said, this is what I'm going to do. And obviously, I have the gift to gab. So I said, I feel like I could be good at that.
So help me, because I'm a guy who just watches Law and Order. I do not know. How does one become a police officer? What goes into all of that? Where do you start off? And what drew you to law enforcement? That's so strange to see a black woman there.
Police work is such honorable work in a whole nother vein. Like, yes, we see our attorneys. Yes, you see your Law and Order. But police work, what drew me to it is, honestly, it's going to sound cliche, but it's a true statement. I was drawn to helping people. I was drawn to being in my community. Because trust me, I had other offers. When I graduated the force, there was other offers. There was other areas that probably would have been a little easier. There were suburbs. Less crime, less calls for service. But I said, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to go back to the city that made me. Okay. And that's where I'm going to serve. That's where I'm going to lend my time.
So how long is the academy?
It's like 6 months, and it was a long 6 months.
Now you say graduate, but you're holding some stuff back. You're the first black woman to graduate at the top of your class.
I was. I was. That is a blessing. I was. That was not what we expected. I was just trying to get through it. I was trying to get through those runs because they were not short and they were not slow. And so
So I assume it's both physical
It
and
is.
okay.
It is very physically demanding. It's very mentally demanding. So you have to perform both physically and in the classroom. And so just because you get into the academy doesn't guarantee you a slot. It just guarantees you an opportunity to present yourself to hopefully graduate. So I graduated in 98, and yes, I did graduate at the top of my class. I didn't know at the time that there had been no other Black women that had ever academically graduated at the top of the class in the history of the department.
So where does one enter in? So now you're at the academy.
Mm-hmm.
Are you the lady in the police car driving down my
Yeah.
block? Are you
Absolutely, I am.
Yeah.
With a ponytail and a bun in her head.
Really?
Yes, I am. Yeah, Chris uniform. I took it seriously. Oh
Wow.
yeah.
And how long? So you're a street cop.
I was a street cop
How
all
long?
day. Yeah, so I was a street cop. I stopped just shy of my 6th year. So I started in 98. My academy went through the summer, and then I left the force in about the spring of 2004.
Holly, what's it like being a police officer on the street, realizing that probably the majority of criminal activity you're dealing with comes with people like us? How do you feel as a Black woman patrolling streets and having to deal with Black issues, with our community, with the crime that is in us, that we kill each other more than white people kill us? So how do you deal with that?
You know, honestly, Pastor, how I dealt with it is what made it, I would say, the job is not easy. Let me just start there. Not easy at all. The calls that you go to, the space that people are in when you're in their homes, what you're going to try and solve for or make better is not easy. I would say what was easier for me is that I had a lot of respect for where I came from.
Okay.
So there was a way that I carried myself in a way that I did my job, because these were people that were my neighbors. These are people I went to school with. These
Wow.
are people that I know,
Yeah,
people I go to church with. So you're not just going to be out in the street acting any kind of way. My mom didn't raise me that way anyway. She was a single mom from a divorced home. And so there was a certain level of humility and integrity I had with the way that I did my job. And that also, I believe, translated into the way people treated me. Because I hear that a lot, you know, you're a woman. But I think if I go back and ask some of my classmates or people that because I'm still in touch with those folks from Hartford Police Department, they would just say, she did her job. She didn't do it her job as a female. She did her job.
Gotcha.
And so that in and of itself breeds that respect, hopefully by the community and by your colleagues.
Working in our own communities was probably one of the most disheartening things you experienced or saw on a regular basis. Would have been domestic violence, would have been Black on Black crime, gang activity, drug use. Was there anything you witnessed that really kind of broke your heart?
I would say the hardest things is when I would see children in a trying situation. I did not have to do it often, but anytime you have to participate for whatever the reason in a child removal, that is tough. That is probably one of the hardest things that you see, to have to remove a child from a home.
Yeah. I can assume that it's dangerous and violent. You ever found yourself in a violent, dangerous, life-threatening situation?
Oh, sure. I think back, you know, because a lot of times it doesn't discriminate, and whether you're on and off duty. I remember a time when, I had a gun pulled on me, and I don't remember whether I was coming to work or going home, but I was still partially in my uniform. And it's like people say, it kind of slows down. It was like you could almost see it before it was happening. And the window came down and the vehicle was all tinted out, and it was like you had a foreshadowing. I said, they're about to lean, and sure enough, he leaned out and the weapon came out, and yeah. And in that moment, you do hopefully what your training teaches you to do, which is get out of the line of fire. So he didn't get a shot off, and so I'm still here. I'm still
Clearly. So let me say this, Holly. You're a special type of woman, a special type of person, because I don't know if I could ever be involved in going back to that line of work once that happens. How do you process danger like that to be able to get up and do it again, to go back out knowing that it's dangerous and you've survived it? For most of us, that's a sign. Okay, God, I'm out. I get it.
I'm good, God.
I'm done.
I'm gonna move something else.
Yeah.
in this space, honestly, I just had to give it to God. And I think, and I say that in all transparency because that's what my mom had to do. I wasn't kidding. She really struggled with this. She did not want me to do this. And so she even talked to my pastor about it. And I think you know her, Barbara Headley.
Barbara Headley,
Yeah.
good friend of mine.
Yeah.
She's in Springfield now. Yeah, we were friends when
And
I was
so
pastoring.
my mom had to have some conversations to really work through what I had chosen to do because it wasn't what she wanted from me. And so the same thing holds true. Like when you're committed to doing something and it's your passion, yes, you know it's dangerous, but for me, that's not what you go to work thinking about. You don't think about not making it home. What you do think about is I'm going to answer every call that I can in the best way that I can. I'm going to be there for my coworkers and my teammates because you usually are backing someone up or someone else is backing you up. And you're just remembering to get out there, be present, and prayerfully, you get home.
So before we leave Hartford, police are real people. So I
They
assume
are.
that the police force has the same real problems that the world does, which means you're probably facing some type of obstacles being a woman and double damned a woman of color. Did you experience that on the force at all? Sexism, racism, and how does one climb over that? What words of encouragement do you give for someone who's got to face those obstacles?
I would give someone the advice that a sister friend gave me who was also in law enforcement. And I carry this with me. She said, do your job. Your job is not to try and change the minds of the people that may have their mind set on something else. Your job is to get out there and do your doggone job. And so that's what I did. I think the department has evolved from what history tells us where women were not present. But I go back to my colleagues. Like Hartford was a real city. It's a city that made me. And so what I honestly was focused on was doing it the best way I can. When you go to qualify with your weapon, you're qualifying like everyone else. You're answering these calls like everyone else. You're in these foot traces like everyone else. You're in these car chases like everyone else. And so I think as long as you show up with the attitude that I'm going to do this job to the best of my ability, the respect is there. I mean, yeah, you're going to have days where I'm sure that there's someone that's like, why her? But that's not where I could focus my energy. Because now my time and attention is drawn to that when it should be in the street doing what I need to do. And so that's honestly how I handled it. Yes, do I have bad days? I absolutely did. But I think really what helped was that I lived in the city. I went home to the house that I never moved out of my mom's house, not a single day that I was there. I lived in my same home from a child, and I would go to work and do my job, and that's it.
You know, my dad raised me kind of the same way, that it's almost like when you bring excellence and do the best you can, although people may have issue with your being of color or with your gender, they can't stop you. They can't hinder you because you're putting the product on the table. You're producing, you're showing excellence, and no one can deny excellence.
And that's a conversation they have with themselves. But I can't give you energy having it with me.
Yeah. So you spent some years there.
I did.
And next thing we know, first of all, you got to tell us how you became a Secret Service agent, if you can. Like what underground tunnel you had to go in. Like how does one become a Secret Service agent? Because I'm sure that's not just, hey, anybody can sign up for this.
I was not looking for the service when it found me. Okay. That's a true statement.
Okay.
You know how some people say, well, I always wanted to do this with my life. No. Secret Service found me. I was not looking for it. So I was in grad school. I was getting my master's in forensic science, and I was in class with someone who was an agent with the service. And that's literally how I first became exposed to the Secret Service, is that he was in there. He was a man of non-color, and he recognized what you said, Pastor. He said, this is a great agency. It's a great organization. And he said, I think it would really benefit from your skill set. It would benefit from having a woman and a woman of color. And that's really how the conversation first got started. But I didn't leap to it. He talked to me about it, but I really love what I did. And I think the thing about my career thus far is that I've never left a job because I was unhappy there.
Okay.
Never.
Wow.
Okay, so when he first presented it to me, it wasn't even anything that I was entertaining at first because I love being in Hartford. I still love Hartford. Hartford is home. And so when I made that choice, I did not leave Hartford because I was unhappy with the police department. I left because he felt like, and I felt after some prayer and reflection and also talking to bosses that I respected at Hartford, I said, what do you think? And I had someone that gave me some great advice, and he said, you're only going to know where you really want to be in life if you're willing to try things. And so he said, you did great work here. He said, go try it. And if it's for you, you'll know. And if it's not, come home.
When most of us think Secret Service, we probably don't know the scope of all that falls under the Secret Service. So tell us a little bit about your journey there. Where'd you start? Are you assigned to high-profile individuals? Are you the one running down folk writing bad checks and counterfeiting money? Like, tell us a little bit about your journey into the Secret Service.
We're doing all the things, Pastor. We're doing all the things. So Secret Service, I think most people don't realize it's a dual mission agency. Most people see us in the realm of doing executive protection. I think that's probably where the media picks us up a lot with working with.
You see it in the films. Like,
yeah. All the films, in the line of fire, all the things. And so, but we also have an investigative mission. And so when you come on, you do that investigative mission as well. And so they start you off training you on both sides of the house. You work on investigations, and then you also work in certain protection responsibilities. And so it's learning how to do site advances. It's learning how to even build a site. It's working with protectees in a very limited capacity, but learning what those tools look like in order to support them when they're traveling or when they're at home. And so they start you off very incrementally. They don't just toss.
So I don't just show up and get to be on the president.
You don't.
Oh.
You don't. You could hope for that.
Yeah.
Hold that close.
Yeah.
But no.
Well, as we talk about that, you wound up there, but who else did you have when you think about who you're protecting? Who's on that list? Who's Holly had to stand by and if I'm correct, be ready to take a bullet for it, correct?
That is, we are trained to protect the life of our protectees, yes. And so what that means is, yes, does that mean you could give up your life? Same as with Hartford Police? Absolutely. You've taken an oath to protect that life and to secure that life. And sometimes that means securing that life with your own.
Holly, I don't know if I can take that oath. You've got to be a special person to say. I mean, I'm grateful Jesus laid down his life for me, but other than my children, I don't think I'm laying down my life for anyone. That's an amazing oath to take, and that was in you to do that.
Yeah, Hartford Police and the same. Both of those missions are very critical because you're protecting life and property. And yes, you are agreeing that based on what I am commissioned to do, that if it becomes that I need to protect your life and it means sacrificing mine, that means I'm willing to do that.
Well, our church benefited greatly from your connection to a very high-profile person that you're protecting in President Barack Obama.
Right.
How does one progress to become on the president's detail? Because I assume you got to kind of be probably up there, some of the best of the best, to be chosen to protect the president of the United States.
I mean, Pastor, now as you're causing me to have a brief reflection, that was history making. I was part of history.
Yeah.
Right. And I don't take that lightly. My protective career, my time of protection was during the 44th administration. And so I started with former DHS Secretary Janet Napolitano. And then I moved to National Security Advisor Susan Rice.
Okay.
And then I moved to former First Lady Michelle Obama. And I also was assigned to Senior Advisor Valerie Jarrett.
Chicago girl.
Yes.
She and I were the same school. I just get to throw that out there.
Just throw that out there. Like you get your flowers, Pastor. Get your flowers. And then everyone, regardless of your assignment, supports the president in some capacity. So there were sites that I did for him because it is such a large scope responsibility. And then from time to time, I dabbled with the girls when we needed support over there with Sasha and Malia.
What's that like? Listen, I've met the president twice. We came to Alpha Street, which I know
Yeah.
you had a little part to do with, and I was starstruck, overwhelmed. Like, oh my God, it's Barack Obama, and that doesn't happen often. What's it like being in that kind of space on a daily basis?
It is. It's work. It is work. Everyone has a job to do, and so you show up. Please show up on time. Secret Service doesn't ever do late, so don't do that. You go to your briefing, and you get briefed on what happened in the shift prior to yours, and then depending upon your assignment, then you head out to whatever that is. If we're going off campus with the First Lady, if we are on travel with her, if she's staying in the house and going to her office that day, whatever it is, they brief you on what your responsibilities are that day, and then it just becomes serving your area, and your area is a protective mission. You work very closely with staff because, again, they also are working in support of the protectees with their schedules and where they're going, and you fall in line. It's a well-oiled machine in there.
So listen, you all on protective services at Alfred Street
Yes.
sometimes get on my nerves because you
I know
direct
that's right.
control and tell me where I can and cannot
Ooh,
sit.
that's a true statement.
And I'm
Repeat
just the
that.
pastor of the church.
Tell the saints again. You give yes, tell them.
Yeah, y'all get on my nerves. What's it like, though, having to interact with someone like the vice president or the first lady when you've got to be in control and direct and say, no, you've got to do this? Is there ever they override, or does security take over?
So I would say one of the things with our protectees is they respect what we do.
Okay.
They truly respect what we do. They understand that we are here for their safety, and that if there is directions that we're given or a briefing that they're being provided, it is in their best interest. And so, no, that has not happened with me. Matter of fact, I think that they rely on that so that they can do what they need to do. So when they're at that podium and they're delivering that speech, or they are in a mix and mingle with friends, or mix and mingle from a business perspective, or they're traveling abroad, whatever it is, it allows them to then do what they're called to do or elected to do, because we're here doing what we need to do. It all has to function together.
Holly, I've got one picture in my office of me sitting next to the president, and I will cherish that. They're going to have to bury me with that. That's how much of it. So I assume you got all that. Like you've been in a space most of us would dream to be around the president who I would revere the most, the president of my generation.
Of your generation, yes.
Barack Obama. And I want to thank you because you were integral in making sure the president was able to get to Alfred Street, which was not an easy task.
No.
And dealing with Secret Service, I understood. It's like, okay, these men and women are totally different.
Yeah, they don't play any games.
No, they don't. They don't. They told us when the president comes to Alfred Street, Alfred Street is our building.
That's right.
Right. And you will get it back after he's long gone.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And it's for his benefit, and it's also for yours, because they have a level of planning and expertise that is necessary to safeguard the first family, to safeguard all of you. And so once again, he can come, the family can come, you all can enjoy the first family as you need to, and enjoy them the right way. But no, it was a privilege and an honor to be with my colleagues. It's real work. It's hard work. Yeah. You work some long hours, and I work with an amazing team of professionals at the Secret Service. Going to the White House every day is amazing.
Yeah. So listen, you're there, and now something shifts, because now you're in the entrepreneurial side. So how long were you in Secret Service?
Yeah.
And then let's talk about you starting your own business afterwards.
Yeah. So I did just about 13 years with the service.
Okay.
And one thing I can also say about the service, and I can say about that administration, they are very supportive of their people.
Okay.
And so without getting into a ton of detail, because I want this to be a great conversation that you have with your people, and I don't want to turn into a puddle of mess on the floor.
I know it's coming.
I went through a tough time, and I lost my mom, and I lost my sister. And it was hard. It was very hard. And it changed me. And
it's all right.
But I thank that administration, and I thank the men and women of Secret Service because they carried me.
Okay.
They carried me through. And the First Lady gave me some wisdom because I wasn't quite sure how I was going to pivot. And she said, you got it. She talked with me. She said, you got this. They were very supportive of my nephew. And they were very supportive of the journey that I now had to embark on, which was to raise him.
Yeah.
And so I left.
How old was he at the time when you started raising?
Oh my gosh, he was in his terrible teens.
So you get a teen who's just lost his mom.
That's right.
And you've got to step in now.
I do. And so it was rough because I was a jet-setting bachelorette who really knew nothing about being a full-time parent. And so I was his godmother. And so I tell people all the time now, walking through the journey that I walked through, be very careful when someone asks you to be the godparents, know how important that responsibility is.
Yeah, it's not just show up with gifts at Christmas.
Because you may be called upon.
Yeah.
And you have to be there. And so Cameron and I started navigating what was going to be a very new relationship. He came and moved with me. And that in of itself was all the things that I could talk to y'all about. We gonna protect Cameron though, because we worked it out.
I got teenage boys,
Look,
but different dynamic.
I'm telling you, Boston Market was our friend.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't cooking and he stayed hungry, so I had to figure it out.
Yeah.
I had to figure it out. But from that, what ended up happening is that administration transitioned off and the next one transitioned in. And so that also allowed staff to now go back into the private sector. And so that's how the company came to be. I had a staff person that came to me with a security question. And because normally they would come to service. You know, they had 2 administrations there. So for the last 8+ years, they would have come to service with these questions. And so they reached out. And they know who they are now. And they said, I have a question. I'm working with this individual, and I don't know what to do here with what this person is going through. And so from me working with that high-profile person and walking them through, which was a very scary time in their life, they gave me some advice after it was over. And they said, have you ever considered doing this full-time? And I said, nope. And they said, it's clear that you haven't lost the talent or the passion for it. And they said, just consider it. Think about it. And they said, we're not trying to force you. I'm just trying to give you what I see. And so, yeah, I prayed about it. And I said, God, if this is what you have for me, you're going to order the steps, because I didn't go to business school. This wasn't on my bucket list. This wasn't anything that I saw myself doing. I was going to retire at Secret Service with all the accolades. And but that's not what God had for me.
This is when make God laugh. Tell God what your plans are, right?
Pastor, all the things, running the whole business, and you don't know. Yep.
So you start, what is it, Elite Strategy Global? Is that correct?
Yeah, so that's the short version, because the government version is long, like your government name.
Yeah.
So it's Elite Strategy Consulting and Risk Management Incorporated.
Wow. And what does Elite Management Risk Strategy Global, we carry guns, what is that? What do you do?
So we are a premier global security and risk consulting firm. And so my executive team alone, our experience spans more than 120 years. Wow. That's just our experience.
So a lot of people like you coming out of public sector, working. Okay.
Absolutely. That have done 20, 30 years in this very niche space of strategic security and risk management planning at the highest levels. Planning nationally, planning globally, taking these protectees all over the world and doing it successfully. And so it was with that kind of intent. We are 100%, we built this 100% minority-owned, operated, female executive-led firm.
Wait, say that part again?
That part.
Yes, that
100%
part.
minority-owned, operated, female executive-led.
Some bad sisters, huh?
There you go. All day long.
Yeah.
All day long. And we were proud of that, though.
You should be.
Yeah, we were like, what does that look like if we took something that traditionally is male, even though women are showing more and more of a presence in this space, as we should, and what would it look like if we created now our own and created something in a way that we did very well, that we then presented to the world.
Wow. I can assume there aren't many that fit that category of complete minority owned and female exec.
It's a niche,
It's-
and I hear that.
yeah.
I've heard people give me some very creative comments for niche, unicorn, all, yes.
So how's it been running the business side as an entrepreneur now? So now you're not just qualifying with arms, now you're managing business. How's that been?
Oh, it's hard. Make no mistake about it. It is hard work every day. It becomes your baby. And sometimes my team will say, sometimes too much though, because we need her to release the grip. Really.
How long has it been around? How long have you all been in existence now?
So 6.5, going on 6.5 years. We just had our 6th anniversary in August.
That's about right. You don't start letting go to about 10.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's real work because you realize that, at least for me, you can't ask people to do anything more than you're willing to do yourself. They're looking for you to lead. It's your vision. They're going to support you in it, but it's your vision. And so being an entrepreneur means showing up every day. It's not 9 to 5. It's whatever it needs to be that day, Saturday, Sunday.
Right.
Right. You know?
I understand you all just had the honor of getting Essence Festival. You did all the security for Essence Festival.
Yes.
What was that like? And can you hook a brother with some tickets?
Look, I know. Yeah, shout out to the CEO. Hopefully she hears your plea, right? And so, festival, we started doing the Essence Festival in 2019.
Wow.
And so, yes, it was their 25th anniversary when they brought us on. And so it wasn't just a regular festival. It was their iconic 25th year, and then coming off of Girls Trip, the movie. So there was a lot of energy in the New Orleans area. And so, one of my mentors from the Secret Service, who was on that side of the house with Essence working for Time Inc. at the time, he had just left. He left Time Inc. He was now at another job, and they were in this pivot. And yes, he said, if you all trusted me like you did when I was there with you all in the space of security management, he said, this is the direction you need to go. I trained her like she was one of my colleagues. I know her skill set. I know what this team comes with, and I stand behind them. This is your direction, and this is your future. And they trusted him. And so they trusted us because they trusted him. And we started in 2019. And yes, we got them 2019. We took a pause for the pandemic. We helped them to reimagine coming out of the pandemic in terms of adding both health and safety to the security footprint. So it's been a wonderful partnership.
All right, so let's wrap up with some reflection. 'Cause this is a huge journey you've been on that starts from the police academy force to standing guard with the first family to now owning Black-owned female exec, global security, risk management, all that in one. That's a huge journey, Holly. A few questions.
Sure.
What advice do you give a young lady who's looking at Holly Drains and they're like, I can be that. I can do that one day. What would you tell a young girl looking at you today?
I would tell that young girl to go for it. I would tell her not to put yourself in a box. I would tell her that even if it doesn't make sense to others, doesn't mean it's not the path that you're called to be on.
Okay.
And do not let how people see you and how people, or even yourself, make assumptions about your skill set supersede what God would want to do in and through you.
You've been through a lot, ups and downs, have had to manage a career, manage a son,
Yes.
manage the valley of the shadow of death.
Yes.
Clearly, God and faith are important to you.
Oh my goodness.
In what ways? I mean, as you look back, I mean, they're easy answers like, I couldn't have done it without the Lord. Was there any one thing you've gripped onto the most through all that God has held you through?
What I tell people and what I have said unapologetically is God saved my life.
Wow.
That's what I would say. God saved my life. What I went through leveled me in a way that I wasn't sure how to come back from it. But I know that my nephew needed me to figure it out because he was figuring it out. Right. And so, I tell people God saved my life. Like, there were some very dark days. There were some very hard days. But God kept me going. Like, God literally was the dad, the cover to say, I got you.
Yeah.
I got you.
You know, one thing I do want to admire about you with all that the Lord has done and the doors that have opened and the places you've been in, you still always been faithful to church. Like,
love my
I know
church.
you're going for a couple seasons, but I was like, well, she must be working. And then boom, you're right back in the
Right.
place. So I want to tell you that I am really like enamored with the fact that church matters to you, because some people, you know, with success and doors open, they kind of leave that behind, but you haven't.
I can't do that. I meant what I said when I said God saved my life. But that said, I was raised in the church. Like, I was of the single mom who sang in the choir, who literally did pray her way through things. And so whether you were enjoying church or not, you went. But as I got older, I found my own journey with Christ, and what I had to go through, losing my mom and losing my sister. I had to dig deep.
Yeah.
And so it really produced an intimacy and a closeness that is a non-starter with me. Like, it's just non-negotiable. So yes, I have to worship. I have to be inside the doors of the church. Like, those type of things. People that know me, they're going to see this like, she's telling the whole truth. Like, that's just a non-negotiable part of me.
What's a core value for you then? I mean, as you look back with the success of your career and now operating business, what's a non-negotiable for you, a core value for Holly Drains, that this is something I don't violate for myself?
I don't violate for myself operating in faith. I don't violate for myself telling people that I operate in faith, both personally and professionally.
Okay.
That's a core value for me, is that I don't mislead people about how I got to where I am. And I know that can be a tough conversation, especially when you talk about profession and business and what things you can and can't say. I speak the word of God. I speak the word of Jesus. And so I have been blessed to have a team that also walks in faith with me. And that is just something that, even if it's problematic for some, it's not anything that'll change about me.
How you take care of yourself? What's part of your self-care regimen, both physically, mentally, spiritually? You know, I hear church is a big part in your faith, but how does Holly take care of herself?
How does Holly take care of herself? Well, Holly goes to the gym. Holly does do that.
Well, I'm certain, because listen, if you see Holly at church, you don't want that. Like, that's not the smoke you want. Don't try her. If she's on detail, trust me, just walk the other way, because she probably can kick your behind.
Just
But
do
anyway,
his thing.
so Holly
Just
goes
do
to the
his
gym.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I do. I work out, and it also keeps my stress down. Because when you're running your own business, your stress can stay up here. So I let some of it out in the gym, because you don't want to let it out on other people.
Yeah.
What they say, you don't want to bleed on people that didn't cut you. And so the other things I do is I like to eat out.
Okay.
Yes.
Got that in common.
Ooh, I'm a foodie.
Good food.
Look you.
It's God's will.
It is a will for my life, and it usually will change my attitude. So it'll always make me a good person to get along. And then I would say I always start my day reading my devotional. So I have a very close group of sisters, and one of them continually, year over year, and she has not stopped yet, she sends us out a devotional every single morning. Now, granted, I have my own that I read, but she sends it out to us as well.
Wow.
And so I would say my time of prayer and devotion and reading at least one chapter in the Bible, that's how I start my day. I need to start centered. So I need to,
Yeah.
because it's a lot. It's a lot. So that's literally how I start. Now, granted, I have my fun out in the streets. I know how to salsa. I got a lot of tricks that people, you see me, then you know.
Yeah.
Don't be trying to talk about it Alfred Street, though. If you saw me out there, then you
just
did.
right there. Because I saw you too, right?
I saw you. We saw each other.
Right.
So, but yeah, I really practice self-care, and I practice good. You were preaching about it today. Matter of fact, I don't know when this will air, but you were preaching today about, I've gotten to a place where I don't have FOMO anymore. I posted something on Instagram that I borrowed from someone else who posted, I have JOMO, the joy of missing out.
Yeah, right.
Like, so,
yeah, I enjoy missing out. Like,
so that's
y'all
how,
go ahead and have
right, you go ahead. So that's also how I take care of myself, is with the rigors of, I'm also now working on my PhD while I run my business. And so with doing all these things and being happy with all these things, you also have to do your best to make sure you're not stretching beyond your bandwidth.
Meet the street, y'all. This is Holly Drains, and I would simply say eyes haven't seen, ears haven't heard. All the things God has in store for you. I pray for your blessings in your business as you continue to spread. You have been a joy to our church, a blessing to our
Same.
life, and we are proud to call you one of our own.
Same.
Ladies and gentlemen, you get to meet the street. You get to meet Holly Drains. I'm going to tell you one more time, don't mess with her in church. Leave her alone. That is not the direction you want to go in. This is Pastor Wesley. I thank you all for joining us to Meet the Street with Holly Drains. We'll be back with another exciting episode to share with you some more phenomenal people just like Holly. Thank you, Holly.
You're welcome, Pastor.
Great.